So there's a lie that a lot of alcoholics and addicts will tell themselves, and they tell themselves it for good reason. Well, not good reason, but a functional reason. And it's a lie that I've told myself many, many times. And the lie is, you know what? My drinking, my using, is hurting nobody but me. All right, so it's just me taking the damage here. Quit your whining. And I mean, for starters, that's not a great mindset to have because it's like you acknowledge that it's hurting you. But besides the point, this is one that, like I said, for functional reasons, because maybe you tell people that as a defense to have them get off your back or try to convince them of your own sort of delusion that you are just living in a vacuum. You don't affect the world in any way. You don't mean anything to anybody. And it's kind of a way, maybe, whether you even know it yourself or not, that it's to alleviate guilt. Or maybe it's something you're telling yourself when you're in the stage where a lot of people don't know or no one knows. And it's kind of what you say to keep it going, the charade in your own head. And I mean, when you think about it, it's like, I know this is going to seem kind of drastic, but when I thought about it myself, what I thought of was the fact that, you know what, if doing this to myself, especially when I was really, really, really bad into it, in the thick of it, like I was literally just starting to drift mentally and emotionally, and just I was eroding and everything else like that. With that sort of mindset, it's just like, well, the way you're thinking, David, then if you killed yourself, it wouldn't hurt anybody, right? You're not doing it to anybody, and if you did that, you wouldn't hurt anybody. You'd guarantee you wouldn't hurt anybody, right? And it's like, well, no, of course that would hurt people. But what I couldn't acknowledge was that, like, it would hurt people because they would lose me. I wouldn't be in their life. And I needed, like, the reality bell to ring in my head. Like, that's what's happening to you right now. They are losing you. And I'll tell you one thing. This may seem very dark, but like, it is dark in addiction, and the form it's taken in other people, the depth it's taken them, like how bad it's become, what it's transformed people into. Sometimes it almost seems like death isn't the worst thing. To have somebody become completely unrecognizable, become the worst version of themselves, or a version that doesn't even closely resemble themselves, to only grow to hate them. You'd almost rather have them not be there than to despise them and to be so mad and so disappointed and saddened by them. And it's just like, I can't stress enough, you don't live in this sort of like bubble where, and again, people think of, I'm not hurting anybody because I'm not mentally, verbally, physically abusing them. I'm not taking money from them. I'm still doing my responsibilities too. You know what? It would hurt them if I killed myself, because I wouldn't be able to support them the way that I do. I wouldn't be able to be around them to take care of responsibilities. And if you're able to do that, like I said, I can't. There's patterns and trends in addiction, but nothing covers anybody. But really, that mindset of I'm not hurting anybody is so attractive to believe, because it then isolates it more in your head. This is just a me thing. This is a me thing, and I will deal with it whatever way it is, whether I'm going to try to get clean and sober later, always later, or whether I'm just going to function on this thing and I'm just going to, I'm going to take the hits as they come and just kind of keep doing this thing. And it really doesn't work that way. Like, because a lot of things that I'd heard people say, people that got sober, when some of the fog lifted and some of the clarity started coming back, was just that, one of the things I regret was not so much of what I did, but I just regret not being present for my kids, not being present with the ones I love or my friends, just being a ghost in their lives. And it's not, again, so much a thing that I did to them. It wasn't some sort of, transgression against them, but I just wasn't there. And, one thing is, you could have a bunch of people in your life that aren't, outwardly telling you this, like, this is what you're doing to us, because they don't know how to approach you. They don't know what to say. And who knows, maybe in their minds they've accepted it, or they'll accept it up to this point, but it will always get to a point, almost always, 99%, 99.9 always, that you will get to a place where you actually are starting to do some damage, because you're not going to be a high functioning alcoholic or addict forever. You're not going to be able to take care of all your responsibilities, and by the way, to the level that you want to. And I talked about before about functioning alcoholics and addicts, how sometimes it seems like an advantage. It gives them this ability to cope with life, and it gives them energy, or it gives them the motivation to do stuff or enjoy stuff or whatever. But at the end of the day, it is going to affect people, and it doesn't need for you to crash into somebody with your car when you're drunk. It doesn't need for you to break out somebody's window and steal shit. It doesn't need for you to get into a fight or do whatever. It doesn't need that stuff. Because one thing I learned about what people really wanted from me, like the way that I was affecting them, it was because all they really wanted from me, it wasn't about paying back money or apologies or making it up to them in some sort of way. They just wanted me to be a part of their life. They wanted me to participate. And that was what hurt the most to them, was that I was just not there. Whether I actually distanced myself and like isolated myself, as one does, because no one will catch you if you're by yourself, right? No one's going to judge you. No one's going to tell you to say no. So whether you actually physically distance yourself or whether you mentally and emotionally distance yourself, and that can be a hard thing to notice, because when you're in addiction, you are so much in your own head, and it's hard to even consider what other people are thinking about you. Here's the funny thing: at least I was constantly thinking about what other people thought of me, as like did they know? Are they finding out or anything? But I didn't actually think about how I was affecting them, and it kind of, within the intoxication, it kind of just blurs to what the reality actually is. And I can't stress it enough, the idea that they are losing you in some way. You don't have to actually get up and leave. You don't have to actually go a distance physically to be like lost to someone. And I know this because there's so many people, like, of all the people I know that have gotten into recovery and stayed in recovery, and like I said, had the fog clear and have like the clarity of mind. There's never anyone that was just like, you know what? Yeah, I didn't hurt anybody. I need to do better, but I wasn't hurting nobody. Usually they come to a realization of, this was affecting people in a way that I never want to do again. And again, there's one other thing too of why that sort of lie that you tell yourself, that I told myself, why it's bullshit, is because at the end of the day, it's like I'm only hurting myself. Well, you know what? That means you're hurting yourself. So, if you like my videos, subscribe or whatever. I'm going to do a live stream here soon. I got links for stuff and things in the description below. Link to the podcast that I do, Shoeless in South Dakota. And then also a book and whatnot. Other than that, thank you for watching, and be well.